Mr. Hassett has two investigators that carry registry certification. I am one, and I have been since 2016. I am the lead senior investigator, the investigative supervisor, and the lead autopsy technician. It is not a requirement to have experience or certification to become an investigator. And I'd like to address Sharon. I did my job correctly, and I did my due diligence in conducting a thorough death investigation. Lastly, it is our job at the MCMEO to preserve the survivors and to represent the dead. Represent the dead. Represent the dead. That is what we have done and what we will continue doing going forward.
Veronica Dennis is the lead senior investigator, the investigative supervisor, and the lead autopsy technician? Is she also Lieutenant Kenny Williams' niece? Someone holding all three roles? Senior investigator, investigative supervisor, and lead autopsy technician, is unusual because these typically require different skill sets and create potential conflicts of interest. Supervisors should oversee investigators, not be the same person. This concentration of roles could create accountability issues. Veronica Dennis is not qualified, as she admits that an investigator in Mohave County does not have to be experienced. But her looks of disgust at dead bodies describes this behavior as incompassionate, and potentially more seriously, as unprofessional and disrespectful to the deceased. Why this matters. Death investigation professionals have a fundamental duty to treat the deceased with dignity and respect. Families trust that their loved ones will be handled with care during what may be the worst moment of their lives.
Lastly, it is our job at the MCMEO to preserve the survivors and to represent the dead.
Visible disgust toward a body suggests lack of respect for the deceased as a person who had life, relationships, and dignity. Failure of professional standards. Even when confronted with difficult conditions, professionals should maintain composure. Possible impact on work quality. If someone can't handle the emotional demands of the job, their investigative thoroughness may suffer. The nepotism angle makes it worse. Being the niece of Lieutenant Kenny Williams, if she obtained these multiple overlapping roles through family connections rather than merit, and is now demonstrating lack of appropriate emotional regulation, inadequate respect for the deceased, poor professional boundaries, then this suggests someone who may be incompassionate, unprepared for the role, and potentially in a position she's not qualified for. This could be never having had the proper temperament for this work in the first place. More concerning, especially if nepotism bypassed proper vetting. Her statements to the Board of Supervisors on August 19, 2024, does not match her candid, disgusting facial expressions while on duty.
I did my job correctly, and I did my due diligence in conducting a thorough death investigation.
She shows a great role in her presentation, having the appearance of compassion. However, her facial expressions, while she thinks no one is watching, exposes her true self.
It is not a requirement to have experience or certification to become an investigator.
Here are the problems. 1. Nepotism in hiring/promotion. The investigator/supervisor/technician is the niece of a lieutenant in the same jurisdiction. 2. Conflict of interest in case routing. The police department, where her uncle works, consistently sends bodies to her boss, John Hassett.
I, for one, cannot identify a conflict of interest. I understand there was great concern when there was common ownership with funeral homes. That has since been not the case since October 28th of 2022. So I want to make sure that's on the record. The claims of no choice to family when a decedent is in our office.
And as we can see by her Facebook posts, she is now advertising for Lizarraga mortuary transport because she probably realizes death is big business. Is Veronica taking a cut in that particular business as well as receiving compensation for wearing 3 hats which all conflict? 3. Lack of independence. Death investigations should be independent from law enforcement to ensure objectivity. 4. Concentration of roles. One person shouldn't be investigator, supervisor, and technician. 5. Questionable professionalism. Medical examiner coroner systems are supposed to provide independent oversight of deaths, especially when law enforcement may be involved. When you have family relationships between police and ME staff, consistent routing of cases to facilities with these connections, unprofessional behavior suggesting someone is unqualified, you get a system vulnerable to evidence mishandling, inadequate investigations, cover-ups, intentional or through incompetence, loss of public trust. There is a major problem going on in Mohave County with nepotism and cronyism, and it needs to be dealt with.
Lastly, it is our job at the MCMEO to preserve the survivors and to represent the dead. Represent the dead. Represent the dead.
Right.